that'll make it in special. All the shows about my dad. It's not my dad. What's that first part where you said it's not his dad? Is this gonna twist into the ending of Chinatown? He wasn't my doctor. I was walking through the home. Like, I looked at Tom and I was like, oh, thanks. It's a big convenience. You know what I mean? I know what you mean. And we walk a few blocks. People say stuff like that. She goes, it's a waste of my time. Never see the name. You know Bill Burr. I could see my dad being a doctor. Like, I remember one time I was like soccer kid off the field. One time I dove head first to the ball, and I got to it, and then the kid on the other team kicked my head. I know. With the intensity he had intended for the ball. And I don't know the rest of the story. But I have been told that I hooked up and I was like, I'm good. And they took my word for it and they kept me in the game. About 15 minutes later, I just wandered, talked, on to another field. And I said to them, and I quote, I go, what are we even doing here? And my dad ran onto the field, he picked me up, and he carried me off, and he drove me home. He asked me all the questions that doctors ask their patients. What's your middle name? What are the classes you take at school? I said, oh, okay, this is what my dad does. And then the other time, when it came up, is that I went to St. Mary's School for grade school in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts, and every Friday night we had science club, which is kind of like a posse of front for Catholic school. Like, we believe Jesus turned water into wine, and also they were dinosaurs, you know what I mean? So everybody, parents explaining what science has to do with it. Not one thing that we had when I was so nervous. What are you gonna say? Just anything about science. Amen. And he brought us medical tools. He took them out one by one. He explained what each of them does. He took out a three-dimensional model of the brain, explained the hemispheres of the brain. Because I just didn't see a lot of that. You know, what I would see if my dad was when he'd come home from work around 8 o'clock at night, and he'd sit in the corner of the living room and read a war novel and scowl. I'm with my dad in March at the hospital, and it's devastating. Someone had a stroke. It's the worst thing
He was sick. You gave him a gift.
So how do I explain that to my daughter?
Mercy.
I
didn't have it in me to do that for him. So,
days later, I drive
thank
home,
you.
and I take
Now,
my daughter to
tell
one
me,
of her friend's birthday parties that
do
weekend. I
you
go to
think
probably
you can
2
do
or
it
3
again?
children's birthday parties here.
What?
It's a huge
I
part of
mean,
my life. My
Nerel,
daughter has 6 friends. Last year I went to
You really think she's
235
been
children's
lost?
birthday parties.
no,
Birthday party
never saw the point of despair. But we'd be fools not to consider all the
It's my
cards.
least favorite part of my life.
She might still be fighting.
I don't
She
like
might
it.
not.
Because I
Either
just
way,
don't like my daughter's friends.
She'll still need you.
Say that, I don't even
Focus on that, my friend. Come what
know.
may,
I love my daughter more than
you'll
anything
be
else.
there for
I
her.
like her friends. I don't know. I don't think you spend a lot of time with 9-year-olds you're not related to. This is an insufferable bunch. When I'm with her friends, I'm like, this makes me really not understand pedophilia. I'm gonna tiptoe through this minefield. We were looking for the stroke stuff. Obviously, I'm revoking penis lines. When I'm with her friends, like, I don't even get the look. I don't get the smell. But any people are our worst and dumbest. And with me, so. I'll give you an example. So we're driving to this birthday party, and it's me and Jenny, my wife Jenny, her daughter, and then one of her friends, and then the story with one of the dads, and his name is Rob. It's one of our good friends. Jenny and I call him Broccoli Rob. And thanks for laughing. We think it's hilarious. Broccoli hasn't laughed once. We call him this hundreds of times. I think it's technically bullying. So, Jenny, Una, Broccoli, and then Broccoli's son Arrow, which is a name. I mean, we live in Brooklyn, and I'm the only Arrow we know. We know River of Arrows. We know River of Bows. I mean, we're driving at a birthday party.
They marched off with Father Inarius and Reverend Mother Brava to wage war against Lilith. Probably good for you they're not around. I've heard rumors that the cathedral has branded you a heretic. Don't worry, though. I won't give you any trouble.
I want to say to this kid, look, life is going to serve you all kinds of Shabbat. If you want to remain true to yourself, hold out for the Wegula. So we get the Wegula Shabbat, and you drive the bakery to this place called the Urban Air, which if you don't know these places, it's like a birthday party factory. It's like a warehouse with like trampolines and ice cream and those sticks from American Gladiators that kids can whack each other with. And the moment you enter, you can find a stack of forms because they know your child is about to be injured. And
well struck.
they get real specific. It's like your daughter's going to be stuck under a rusty trampoline, like Wigga.
Anything else? Fair trade.
Unfortunately, our daughter was injured almost immediately. I say fortunately not because I wish this upon anyone, never mind my own child. It's going to have to be wanted early. The urban air rush. So, as I drive Jimmy and Una from urban air to urgent care. Explain as well on the shuttle bus. There were bases over there, and I'm not entirely convinced there should be urgent care. I'm not sure what they do exactly. I think they created this thing because someone was having a panic attack, and they're like, I did it. I think that's a red flag.
The way we took before is blocked.
I took a swing, and I said, well, go in this machine, and then there's these
It's
rays.
gotten worse in here.
You've done well to come this far.
Akarato. He's still here. A good sign Mirel is still holding on.
Discussing her. I feel like I can explain to my daughter. I mean, it's my kids like sex. They're younger because everyone. Yeah, I can hit the bullet points, but leave me on the job. Something that happens sometimes during I say sometimes because when I first built up the courage to share
she was here before. Where's she gone?
For 5 minutes straight. He had the laughter. He said to me, and I quote, he goes, "I think that's just a you thing."
Gone with a wave of the paw.
So
A miracle maker, just like the old myths say. Or the doctrine, if you ask the Zakarum. To tell you the truth, it wasn't by coincidence that I found your body floating down the river. It was him who sent me to you.
What are the next steps? Didn't have urgent care. And I didn't know any doctors. So I walked into the living room. walked over to me. He felt my hard nipples, which was nice. Stay with me. This is
Never thought I'd have the personal help of Akrat himself. Or, rather, his spirit. Though I suppose mythical help is needed to face mythical evil. What did Mephisto tell you, anyway? Back in the fields.
He actually thought he could convince me to let him out of the stone.
Hell, he's done enough damage from inside it.
I was about 5 years old. I was hypotonic because I was dangerously dehydrated. My mom opened the story for me. I was passed out. She picked me up. She threw me in the car, drove me to the emergency room. She was a nurse, and so she explained it. She goes, "My son is hypotonic. He needs an IV."
I was once a part of Akarat,
insurance
I
for me.
think.
So she's manically filling out
He was
insurance
indeed
forms.
human.
And then my dad was in the
And
hospital.
so
And
very
he walked in and he surveyed the situation.
So
And
much
he goes,
that when he lay dying, none of his dedicants would let him go as he wished.
One
One of them, the first of the spirit born,
so I don't remember that
found a
whole
way
thing.
to
My mom
trace
explained
his
it to
soul
me,
to
but
the spirit
what I
realm.
remember is that I was admitted in the hospital for
do
4
not
days,
know
and
what
one
she
day my
did
dad came in,
Only
and
that
it was
it
just me and
hurt.
him.
When I was
He
born,
brought me a curious George.
Spoken so freely.
And he
it
just
is beautiful,
rubbed my
wonder
shoulder
free of shame.
for about 15
I help
minutes.
you to help Nerel.
And it was the
The
slightest
hunter
gesture.
depends on her.
And I still remember it.
Say
Jenny and I
plain, Eru,
are the opposite
an
with our
honest
daughter.
question
Or
for an
too
honest
much.
answer.
Whatever too much is, we're gonna find out when she's an
It
adult.
was she who brought the prime evil here to begin with. She who drew the hollows.
You know, like we were at the ballet.
The stone woke the hollows, but Mephisto planted them centuries ago.
You know, and
They were here when I still walked as a mortal, when I first fought and scarred the wolf, long before the fall of Kurast.
And we're fine because we spent
The
thousands of
stone
dollars on the
is bound to
lessons.
her soul,
Dollars.
and the stone must be put to rest.
It's not happening.
Saving her soul will save all of us.
I run up to her afterwards and I'm just squeezing her.
She needs you.
You were so fantastic. She goes, Dad, you could say I was fantastic, even if I wasn't fantastic. I am. I can say that that is so true. Respect, but I did share with a group of strangers at the Beacon Theater in New York City. We're very emotional girls, so we do withhold certain things. You know, like I withhold anger. I experience anger and I hold it in because when I was a kid, my dad would get angry. And I remember never.
Let's clear the air. Get to
Like a few months ago, I noticed was that when I had woken up, that Jenny had made me pancakes.
Akra cheese chacham.
You heard that correctly. It was just one. She made me pancakes. And I said, thank you, pancakes. I guess she's deeply familiar with my health profile, so she knows the
I can
right
get the
amount of
Guardian's
pancakes for
blessing.
me to eat.
But we think consuming its heart
Okay.
will free you.
So I wanted to do something nice for her,
In
because my love
Tazarak,
language is
you
keeping
asked me if
score.
anything I do matters. I've been thinking about what I said. That with good allies, the weight of our burdens gets easier. Nerel. It's me. I'm here for you. You don't have to keep doing this alone.
It's all right.
Wow, but yours is too. Yours is too, and you're losing. There's a game going on. Yes, you're getting sentiment. She goes, sometimes I feel like you're keeping score. And I was like, right. I'm not being coy about it. What do you think the whiteboard is for? In the kitchen. I'm just not subtle about it. I wish I were. Jenny describes me as the narrator of our marriage no one asked for. I'll be scrubbing dishes in the sink, and I'll be like, so I'm doing the dishes, and I'm gonna grab ice cream for your parents, and I'm gonna take the hair out of the drain in the shower. And she'll be like, you don't have to say all that. You could just do it, and then it'll be done. We don't have to talk about it. I do a lot of stuff too. I don't talk about it. I just do it, and then it's done. And I said, I'm gonna give you still down by 3, it doesn't matter. I keep score. I'm not proud of it. I don't even know where it came from. I don't know if I learned it from my parents. I mean, I don't know how to be married. Like, no one taught me to be married. I'm just winging it every day. I mean, my marriage isn't really anything like my parents' marriage. My parents would argue about it all the time. And like, Jenny and I argue, but it's different because Jenny's an introvert. And so arguing with an introvert is just reading into the silences. They decided which of the silences you want to have words. We were walking to pick up Buddha the other day, and Jenny seemed quiet. I was like, what's going on? And she goes, nothing. But I wasn't nothing. It was like one of those forks in the road where I'm like, wait, do I probe? Or do I let it lie? Married 16 years, I have no idea. Well, has anybody who's been married a long time, shout out if you have how many years? Years that you've been married. Oh, 35 years. Anyone longer than 35 years? 40. How about you? That's a lot. First of all, wait, what's your name? Ann? And what's your husband's name? Your husband's name is Jan? And your name is Ann? Okay. And I'm just getting that correctly? Ann and Jan? Are you real people? Are you? So Ann and Jan have been married 57 years. My husband and my parents have been married 60 years. Yeah, too long, right? I mean, when I was in my 20s, I said to my mom something that I had been holding in for years. Like, Mom, if you ever wanted a divorced dad, we would be okay with that. I thought she was going to be like, thanks. You know what I mean? But she said to me something I'll never forget. She goes, Michael, you cannot understand someone else's marriage. That's true, Ann. Jan, do you think that's true? Ann and Jan? Or is it Jan and Ann? So Ann and Jan, you are the broccoli Rob of this audience. This is hilarious. You probably do not think this is hilarious. This is your life all the time. So Ann, I want to ask you advice. If you're in this situation and you say to Jan, what are you thinking about? And he says nothing. Would you probe? Or would you let it lie? Probe. So Ann says probe. And Jan, would you probe or would you let it lie? They are the oil and vinegar that creates a successful marriage salad. So I'm with you, man. I am. I probe. I just think it's just better to know more than less. I said to Jenny, I go, what do you think about it? She said nothing. She sort of like doubled down on it. And then I threw an off-speak pitch. I go, well, where did you just come from just now? She goes, I was at home and I was watching the news and I got sad about the war. And I said, do you think it's my fault? And this raised Catholic. I'm open to the idea that anything could be my fault. I think it's possible I masturbated so much it caused a war in the Middle East. Maybe I'm a dreamer. I'm pretty sure that's what that song is about. I did have to not like that joke. My dad doesn't like
I had words rehearsed in case you or Lorath ever tracked me down. All I can say now is I'm really happy to see you too.
You did good in there.
I had help. Thank you for that.
As a matter of fact, when I was in my
I'm
20s,
Eru,
I did a
but don't
very
thank me.
political joke, and then we
Thank the
ended up
spirit
having
whose
this
heart I carved
discussion
out for you.
from it about
It was a
politics,
gamble and a half,
it
but
was
you made it worth it.
intense. You know, I was
You saddled the
visiting him,
stallion. You're
and
back on
we
top
went
of
for
the
a
stone.
walk on this
Now
wooded
I have
path
to ask,
behind his house,
what the
and
hell do you plan
the
to do
farther
with
we
it?
walked, the more tense
A very good
it
question,
got, to the point
but its
where
answer demands
he
some
was just saying
research.
mean-spirited things
Where's Nahantu's
about
best
me,
library?
And then I started saying mean-spirited
To
things
Kuras,
about
then.
him.
Good. Whatever it is you're
And I
thinking,
got
you'll need the
back to
council's
my
blessing
car,
anyway.
And I said, bye, Dad.
Promise me
And
you'll
he
rest
didn't think
after.
about it.
How could
He
I?
goes, well,
Every dream is Mephisto's
gone
stage.
another way.
Once we deal with the stone,
That was it.
then I will
And I just
rest.
drove home. And I just felt so adrift. You know, I thought my whole life I sort of wanted to be my dad, and at a certain point I decided I wanted him to be me. I never had that with my mom. My mom and I have been close since I was a kid. Because, you know, she's very religious. When I was a kid, I was very religious because kids love magic. I love going to church because the priest got so many lamps on so little material. You know, he'd be like, "This is our new control," and he would be like, "It's hilarious." It's not hilarious. There are no punchlines. It's all setups, and I was just like, "Get me up there, put me on the mic, sign me up for some open altars." I would crucify. I mean, in the right context, I would crucify. I want to be a priest when I was a kid. I think it's because they knew I was kid of 8 years old. If you don't know rosary beads, they're like a abacus for Catholic people, like counting prayers, you know. You don't know what an abacus is, like a calculator. Calculator. I had it from my grandmother.
I was hoping we'd get a chance to talk. Just us. Glory beads. I've been struggling with something.
My whole childhood, my
In hell,
consciousness.
when we didn't know who to use the soul stone on.
And God.
Why did you ask me to choose?
And at a certain point,
between Lilith in my veins and Mephisto in my ears, I couldn't trust myself.
So
but you could trust me?
Visiting my dad in the hospital.
A grieving child?
She's praying.
I got stuck. I messed it all up.
You know what I mean?
It was our group's face. Killing is my trade. Donan was our stone mage. Lorath, our leader.
But she's praying because my dad has gotten worse, you know. In addition
were our
to
compass.
not being able to move, he has
always looking north, to Sanctuary and her future, weighed by burdens but not swayed by them. I'm sorry for putting that on you, but I don't regret it.
His stomach was
despite Mephisto's best efforts, you are still you. That alone is proof I didn't choose wrong.
You think too highly of me. Next time, we choose together. All right, friend? Come on. They're waiting for us in the council room.
And who I've known for years, but he had a very different tone. He goes, hey, so the Pope Francis, wants to meet a bunch of Canadians, and apparently, you're in the list, and I'm in the list, and I don't know, I'm gonna go. I was surprised. I go, does the Pope know if he invites a bunch of comedians? They'll probably talk about it on stage. And Jim goes, he's gotta know. But maybe go easy on the molestation stuff. I will when they do.
This soul stone, like every other, will eventually come to fail. So we strengthen it. I've read of a massive well of energy stored in the lost tomb of Akarat. It could empower the stone, sever its bond to me, and trap Mephisto. For good this time.
You would smear that filth on the heart of Nahantu?
Not Nahantu, the spirit realm. One of Akarat's dedicants writes of a passageway in the tomb to his true resting place, a vault of light where spirits fly.
No. I was glad to help you. But I'm sorry. I can't let you defile Akarat's resting place.
Eru, this was Akarat's plan. He has given his blessing.
What? But why?
This council will not stand against the wishes of Akarat. Short of dooming all Sanctuary, no other plan has been proposed.
That's what I realized. I was gonna go
there are tablets related to Akarat scattered about Teganze. Perhaps they might point the way to the tomb.
Me and Jenny and Una, we're flying around, we're walking around the Vatican, and it was surprisingly emotional. It was such a stunning place. And then I'm explaining it to Una, I'm like, well, this is the religion that I was raised in, and you know, Grandma MJ believes in a lot of this stuff, and I believe in some of it. A lot of this artwork was stolen, and I don't think you should steal artwork, but if you do, don't give it back. I think that's the lesson from the Vatican, is if you steal big, don't give it back. And then Una asked me a question that really took me by surprise. She goes, Dad, who is Jesus? this is a huge oversight in my education of my daughter because she knows a lot of stuff. She knows the Greek gods and the Roman gods and the Egyptian gods and the Norse gods. Somehow I have entirely glossed over Jesus. So I'm trying to do a crash course. I'm like, well, there's this guy, and 2,000 years ago, he was like walking around, and he was like God, but also he's the son of God, and he had this cult, and like a well-meaning cult. And by the way, it's not even controversial. When Jesus were here on stage with me at the Beacon Theater, he'd be like, yeah, it was a cult. There were 12 of us. 70 tops, He would be the most confused by what happened to Christianity. He'd be like, this isn't what I intended at all. I'm more of a girl than David Blaine in a food bank.
Kurast is an old city. You've seen the gardens and the cigarettes, but there are many older places beneath our feet. Places no one goes. The Undercity. In good times, the Undercity is a bittersweet memory. These are not good times. People are going missing. We sent one of our own to investigate, Councillor Sieg. Now he's gone missing himself. Almost wouldn't ask this of anyone else. Find Sieg for us. We fear for him.
Once a month, once every 3 months. You know how many things I do once every 3 months that are worse than sex later? I think that's the key to any good marriage. You gotta get in the calendar. Sometimes I'll have sex with leader. Sometimes Jenny will have sex with leader. Sometimes I'll have sex with Jenny and I'll call her leader. I gotta be careful with my tone when I talk about cults because I got an email recently with some people who shows that I really enjoyed the show, but I want you to know that if you ever did join a cult, Jenny would have to have sex with leader more often than you would have to have sex with him. It really sent me to a tailspin because I'm totally like conveying my humor. Someone meets my show and they think, A, I might join a cult, and B, that if I join a cult, and I don't know, that Jenny would have to have sex with Lena, and I would have to have sex with Lena. I want to take this moment and show point out some of these are jokes. With my family, and it's interesting. Everywhere in Rome that you go, there's just beautiful chapels and statues of Jesus and paintings of Jesus. To the point where I said to our tour guide, was he here? I was like, I know he wasn't. Like, I went to Catholic school, but I know like you guys don't make it. In Rome, it's like this place in Rome is the original case of culture. sign off on that as an accident. To us. Like Chris Rock over to my house. Pope spoke to us about comedy. And this Pope, if you don't know this Pope, Pope Francis, he's pretty good, but only compared to other popes. I mean, if you met him at a party, you'd be like, this fucking guy, you know? And he invited us in to apostolic Catholic.